Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 191 based on novel. So let's start. After the matter of the Bodhisattva ancient tree was over, Xiao Yang's group did not continue to stay in this damn wasteland for long. They set off and spent a couple of days traveling before reaching the Falling Star Pavilion. Xiao Yang was undoubtedly the one who had obtained the most during this trip to the ancient wasteland region. Not only did he enjoy the legendary meditation beneath the Bodhisattva ancient tree, the Bodhisattva heart had also hid itself within his body. Of course, one should not forget the 11 pure Bodhisattva seeds remaining in his hands. Forget about the benefits the two others things gave Xiao Yang. Just the 11 Bodhisattva seeds alone was already an extremely rich reward. If one were to randomly take out any one of these Bodhisattva seeds, many Peak Dozun experts' eyes would turn red with envy. They did not care about its other properties. Its ability to raise one's chances of advancing to the Ban Sheng class was enough to cause those top experts in the eyes of ordinary people to go crazy. Xiao Yang might have gained a rich reward this time around, but the thing that he was most happy about was that he managed to prevent Han Yu's group from gaining anything. Xiao Yang involuntarily felt the impulse to laugh each time he thought about how Han Yu's group had spent a great effort to hurry to the ancient wasteland region only to return with nothing. Falling Star Pavilion. Xiao Yang's group rested for a full week after returning from the ancient wasteland region before they finally recovered. This trip to the ancient region had not been relaxing. If the Bodhisattva seed in Xiao Yang's storage ring had not luckily woken him from the illusion, all of them would have descended into that extremely lifelike illusion forever. In the end, they would have turned into existences similar to those Ban Sheng puppets. Even though Xiao Yang had managed to survive, he still felt a chill in his heart when he thought of the lifelike illusion. That illusion was really too frightening. Xiao Yang did not refine the Bodhisattva heart immediately after returning to the Falling Star Pavilion because he understood that it was too important. He needed to refine it perfectly. Absolutely nothing could go wrong. While adopting this attitude, Xiao Yang spent a lot of effort to reach his peak condition during a 1-month period of time. At the same time, both he and Yarrow Laro tried their best to prepare things that would increase his chances of advancing to the Ban Sheng class, regardless of whether they were medicinal pills or natural treasures. Everyone understood that the Strenger of the Falling Star Pavilion would undoubtedly soar if Xiao Yang successfully advanced to the Ban Sheng class. 2 Ban Shengs was a lineup that even the Profound Sky sect and the other extremely old sects were unable to take out. While Xiao Yang was awaiting for his peak condition to arrive, Yarrow Laro had left for half a month. After half a month, his tired elderly self once again appeared in front of Xiao Yang and handed him a box. Xiao Yang received the box while feeling surprised. After he carefully opened the jade box, he discovered an emerald green little squirrel hiding within it. An extremely rich pill fragrance spread from the squirrel's body. Just a whiff would cause someone to relax. This is the Bodhisattva pill? Xiao Yang stared at the little squirrel for a moment. Only then did he lift his head and ask in a somewhat stunned voice. He could sense a familiar aura within this little squirrel's body. That's right. Yarrow Laro smiled and nodded. The smile on his face hid his tiredness as he spoke in a somewhat regretful manner. Unfortunately, this Bodhisattva pill only summoned an 8-colored pill lightning. Otherwise, its medicinal effects would have been even more impressive. However, you possess the Bodhisattva heart in your body. Adding the help of this Bodhisattva pill should allow you to successfully break through to the Ban Sheng class. Xiao Yang felt something blocking his heart as he observed Yarrow Laro's elderly face. The reason Yarrow Laro had disappeared for half a month was because he had gone out to find a place to refine this Bodhisattva seed for Xiao Yang. Xiao Yarrow's chances of successfully refining a medicinal pill of this tier were a little low. Xiao Yang understood that Yarrow Laro's abilities were enough to attract a 9-colored pill lightning for this Bodhisattva pill, but Yarrow Laro lacked a good flame. If Yarrow Laro still possessed the bone-chilling flame, attracting a 9-colored pill lightning would be extremely easy. Yarrow Laro had quietly contributed a lot to this disciple of his. Teacher, thank you. Xiao Yang hugged the jade box. He inhaled a deep breath of air and softly uttered his thanks. Haha, there is no need to say these things between a teacher and disciple. Yarrow Laro shook his head and said. You should relax and undertake a retreat. Leave the matters of the Falling Star Pavilion and the Yang Alliance to me. I will not allow anything to happen to them. The most important thing for you is to quickly advance to the Ban Sheng class. Otherwise, you will not possess the ability to subdue the purifying demon lotus flame when it appears in 3 years. That heavenly flame is too frightening. Xiao Yang quietly nodded. This was an obstacle that could completely transform him. If he managed to overcome it, he would truly reach the level of the peak experts within the continent. If he failed, he would be left among upper-tier experts. He wouldn't be able to retaliate against the greatness of the Han clan with such strength. Moreover, Xiao Yang had chased after the purifying demon lotus flame for over a decade. It was impossible for him to give it up. The purifying demon lotus flame would play a critical role in deciding whether he could fight against the Hun clan, so he needed to obtain the purifying demon lotus flame at all costs. You should relax and undertake your retreat. Leave the matter of raising Kaylin's, the little fairy doctor's, and Qinglin's strength to me. All of them are extraordinary ladies. As long as they possess a suitable opportunity, their strength will definitely rise very quickly. They will not hold you back once you exit your retreat. Yarrow Larrow patted Xiao Yang's shoulder. After which, he turned around. Kaylin, the little fairy doctor and Qinglin were all present, but they did not interrupt the conversation between a teacher and his disciple. Xiao Yang gently nodded. He hesitated for a moment before he pulled a jade bottle out of his storage ring. There was a layer of fire around the mouth of the bottle. One could vaguely sense a weak soul within the bottle. Teacher, this is Han Feng's soul. You will have to deal with it. Xiao Yang handed the jade bottle to Yarrow Larrow as he softly informed his teacher. Yarrow Larrow's face was slightly startled after hearing this. His eyes were complicated as he looked at the jade bottle. There was some sorrow in them. No matter what had happened, he had once viewed Han Feng like his own son. He had personally raised Han Feng from an abandoned orphan to an adult and had taught him all he knew. However, Han Feng's plot against him had caused him, who had once been abandoned by his clan, to suffer. The pain from being betrayed was many times more worse than losing his body. Yarrow Larrow's shriveled hand trembled as he received the jade bottle. He did not say anything as he slowly nodded. Xiao Yang felt some grief while he observed the old face of the man in front of him as it appeared more desolate and older. He swung his sleeve and his knees knelt onto the ground. He kowtowed twice before speaking in a deep voice. Teacher has taught and groomed me. You are my teacher and like a father to me. This disciple will help teacher take revenge for all the humiliation and pain you have suffered. Yarrow Larrow was startled when he saw Xiao Yang suddenly kowtow. He hurriedly stepped forward and tried to lift him to his feet. Before he could support Xiao Yang up, Kaylin hugged Xiao Xiao as she quietly knelt beside Xiao Yang. She was Xiao Yang's wife and Xiao Yang viewed Yarrow Larrow like his father, so she naturally viewed him the same. Regardless of how cold and stubborn her character was, she understood that she should listen to her man sometimes. You little fellow. Yarrow Larrow helplessly shook his head as his eyes became a little moist. The desolate expression on his face had paled. At this moment, he understood that the heavens had not abandoned him. He might have been blind once, but he was not blind a second time. He could even abandon his old life for this disciple. Grand teacher. Xiao Xiao widened her black gem-like eyes and looked at Yarrow Larrow. Her crisp voice caused a smile to surface on the faces of everyone present. Ah, good Xiao Xiao. Yarrow Larrow's face was involuntarily filled with joy when he heard her words. He hurriedly lifted Xiao Xiao into a hug from Cai Lin's embrace. After which, he looked at Xiao Yang and Kaylin. He laughed. Quickly get up. These old bones of mine are merely having some random thoughts. The both of you are already quite old. Don't tell me that you are afraid that I might end up committing suicide. Xiao Yang smiled upon hearing these words. He stood up and helped Kaylin to her feet. Holding the jade box in his hand, he turned his head to look at a large stone room hidden within the mountain. He said, "It is already time. I should enter. There is no telling just how long I will be in this retreat, but I think that it will be quite long. All of you should listen to teacher's instructions during this period of time." Understood. Cai Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the rest nodded slightly upon hearing Xiao Yang's suggestion. Teacher, take care. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of air. He faced Yarrow Larrow and cupped his hands together in a solemn manner. After which, he did not delay any longer. He turned around with the jade box and slowly stepped through the thick stone door in front of everyone's eyes. Bang! After Xiao Yang walked in, that enormous stone door also slowly shut. Finally, it smashed against the ground, lifting some dust in the process. Everyone became quiet as they looked at the enormous stone door. They had a premonition that Xiao Yang's retreat would last for a long time. Let's go. Next, we will wait for him to successfully become a Ban Sheng. Yarrow Larrow softly sighed. After which, he waved his hand, hugged Xiao Xiao, and slowly left. Cai Lin and the others quickly followed behind him. However, none of them had expected that this retreat would take a full 2 years. 2 years was not a short amount of time, but no one had expected Xiao Yang's retreat to last this long. Based on the expectations of Yarrow Larrow and the others, it should not be difficult for Xiao Yang to break through to the Ban Sheng class since he had the Bodhisattva heart and Bodhisattva pill helping him. The legend about refining the Bodhisattva heart to immediately enter the Sheng class was a little exaggerated. After all, one must be given time to absorb an enormous amount of pure energy. One could also prove just how powerful the Bodhisattva heart was from another point of view. Although it did not allow one to enter the Sheng class immediately, Xiao Yang, who was already a 9-change peak Do Zun, would, at the very most, need 1 year to successfully complete his retreat. However, reality did not match everyone's expectations. Time slowly flowed by while everyone waited. Autumn replaced summer as wild grass covered the area in front of the large rock door where Xiao Yang hid. Green moss had started to cover the stone door. The area around this door had become a forbidden ground for the Falling Star Pavilion during this 1 year. With the exception of a few, even some of the guest elders were prohibited from entering. Everyone could only suppress the anxiety in their hearts after 1 year passed. It was pointless to be anxious when it came advancing. Fortunately, the most reassuring thing was that Yarrow Larrow could sense an extremely obscure aura through the mountain. This aura was extremely faint, but it was not weak. Instead, it was as though that aura was in a transformation state. Being able to sense Xiao Yang's lingering aura had undoubtedly reduced the worry of everyone. They were unable to disturb Xiao Yang at this moment. Hence, all of them could only helpless worry as they quietly waited. While Xiao Yang was in his retreat, the Central Plains experienced a great disturbance, but the revenge of the Hall of Souls had not arrived early. Hence, the Falling Star Pavilion made full use of their remaining time to become stronger under the management of Yarrow Larrow and Feng Zunja. Many experts had joined upon hearing their names, especially after news spread from the Falling Star Pavilion that Yarrow Larrow could refine the Bodhisattva pill. Some of the elite peak do Zuns, who usually kept an extremely low profile, could not resist the temptation as they secretly became Falling Star Pavilion guest elders. The temptation of the Bodhisattva seed was really too great. Experts would even sacrifice some time and freedom for it. Of course, it was naturally impossible to give the Bodhisattva seed to these guest elders, who had come seeking it, the moment they joined. These experts were not foolish either. They also understood that there were no free lunches in this world. Hence, they thought of ways to contribute to the Falling Star Pavilion so that there would come a time when they were trusted by Yarrow Larrow and then could be blessed with a Bodhisattva pill, which they could use to break through to the level they had only dreamed of. In the face of this positive influence, the strength of the Falling Star Pavilion undoubtedly soared. It had become a powerful existence in the Central Plains that was not inferior to an old faction like the Profound Sky Sect. However, as the Falling Star Pavilion's strength and reputation grew, the Profound Sky Sect, which had formed a grudge with Xiao Yang and the Falling Star Pavilion, was unable to remain still. In the past, the territory of the Falling Star Pavilion had not been very large. Therefore, there was little conflict between the two, but the Falling Star Pavilion's territory gradually began to intersect with the Profound Sky Sect. It was inevitable that conflict would erupt. One was an old faction while the other was a rising faction. The clash between the two would indeed be intense. Both parties had experienced their own respective victories and defeats after fighting for a period of time. Neither party was able to do anything about the other, but this situation did not last for long before it underwent a change. The Profound Sky Sect had announced that it would form an alliance with the Ice River Valley, the Wind Lightning Pavilion, and some other renowned sects in the Central Plains. They publicly announced that the alliance would be named Profound River Alliance. This alliance had undoubtedly allowed the strength of the Profound Sky Sect to soar. This gathering of experts from multiple parties had caught the Falling Star Pavilion off guard, but Yarrow Larrow and the rest did not panic. The Falling Star Pavilion had expanded too quickly. Although the territory under its influence was vast, it was a little superficial. By experiencing this big battle, they were able to use it as an opportunity to reorganize themselves. An obese faction was not something that Yarrow Larrow desired. Instead, he wanted a balanced elite group that could deliver a fatal blow to any enemy. Hence, Yarrow Larrow and the rest did not organize a major retaliation as the Falling Star Pavilion shrank. They continued to withdraw. As the Falling Star Pavilion withdrew and the length of their defensive line shrank, the defensive strength of those cities near the center increased. Additionally, many guest elders personally built wormholes to be directly connected all of these important cities together. Therefore, any city could be reinforced quickly. This caused the territory of the Falling Star Pavilion to be impenetrable. Some of the attacks of the Profound River Alliance had difficulty achieving any obvious results. Instead, they had ended up suffering quite great losses after many battles. This stalemate continued for a couple of months before the Profound River Alliance had no choice but to give up attacking. They gradually withdrew. In any case, they had achieved the effect of displaying their might. They did not wish to truly become enemies with the Falling Star Pavilion and engage in a bloody battle. After all, everyone knew that it would be difficult to predict the victor. After this big war came to a temporary halt, the reputation of the Falling Star Pavilion once again exploded. It was able to rely on its own strength to fight the alliance consisting of the Profound Sky Sect, Ice River Valley, and some other factions. This was extremely rare in the Central Plains. The Profound River Alliance was quite depressed by this. Although they had managed to snatch some territories, it seemed that they had ended up promoting the Falling Star Pavilion. After a temporary peace was formed, the Central Plains became calm for a period of time. However, this peace did not last for long before a great storm was stirred from some information that had been transmitted from an unknown source. The main character of this news was one of the 8 ancient clans, the Ling clan. Back when Xiao Yang had come out of the heavenly tomb, he had learned that the Ling clan's realm had suddenly been shut. However, the news back then was only privy to some large factions, and none of them knew what had happened. Hence, the news did not spread. Not long ago, some experts discovered that the realm of the Ling clan had opened once again. When these experts entered it and probed around, they discovered that the Ling realm was completely empty. There was not a single person in it. Even the descendant citizens of the Ling clan had completely vanished. Those experts were stunned as they looked through the realm, which was void of life. A chill immediately surged from their feet to their heads. This matter was too mysterious. If one added the descendant citizens of the Ling clan, there had been millions of people in the Ling realm, yet this many people had vanished into thin air. This matter undoubtedly stirred a great commotion when it reached the ears of the other few ancient clans. Each of those clans dispatched some strong individuals to the Ling realm. Regardless of how they searched, they were unable to even find a single member of the Ling clan. It was as though the Ling clan had completely vanished when their realm was sealed. The Ling clan was also one of the 8 ancient clans. Although they had gradually shown signs of declining, it should be known that even a dying ancient faction was still more powerful than an ordinary one. Regardless of how much it declined, it could still be ranked among the super factions within the Central Plains. Even if their clan was massacred, even factions like the Jiyu clan would find it difficult to kill all the members of the clan without notifying anyone. Of course, other than the possibility that the Ling clan was exterminated, some individuals guessed that it was very possible that the Ling clan could have moved their entire clan into another self-created realm, but it was obvious that this massive shifting could not be hidden from the peak experts in the Central Plains, yet even these people had not sensed a thing. Given the strength of the Ling clan, how could they possibly have shifted millions of descendant citizens? Regardless of what happened, the matter of the Ling clan's disappearance had undoubtedly stirred a great storm throughout the Central Plains. Various factions guessed the reason for this disappearance. While the outside world was randomly guessing what had happened, a great disagreement had also occurred within the ancient clans over this matter. These ancient clans understood each other very well, but they were not allies. They could only be described as part enemy and part friend. After all, these ancient clans had attacked each other when they were powerful. Hence, they could not be considered united. While the outsiders were feeling at a loss because of this matter, all of these clans had made their own guesses. A very long time ago, a big war had once erupted between the 8 ancient clans. The reason for that war was the Tushi ancient god Jade, that object that had been left behind by the last elite Dodi and was rumored to possess the secret to reach the Dodi class. The 8 ancient clans had once fought because of this secret. Finally, the complete Tushi ancient god Jade was split into 8 pieces. In other words, whoever wished to obtain what was left behind by the Tushi ancient god would have to gather 8 pieces of jade. Each of the clans regarded the ancient jade as more important than their lives. They would definitely not give it away without reason. Hence, there were those who had guessed that the disappearance of the Ling clan this time around might be related to the other ancient clans. Their aim was to obtain the Tushi ancient god jade in the hands of the Ling clan. However, another round of doubt appeared after this guess was voiced. Although the Ling clan had declined, its foundation hadn't disappeared. Among the 6 remaining ancient clans, it was likely that only 2 clans had the ability to exterminate the entire Ling clan without anyone knowing. They were the Jiyu clan and the Hun clan. On the surface, the Jiyu clan was the strongest clan among the 6 remaining ancient clans. No one doubted the strength they possessed. If one were to describe the Hun clan, this clan could be considered the clan with the longest history among the 8 ancient clans. This clan had existed since ancient times. It was usually extremely mysterious, and even the other ancient clans did not dare to say that they clearly understood its strength. Although the Hun clan did not reveal that they were the strongest during the big wars of the old, anyone who carefully recalled the events would discover that the Hun clan had never fallen into a disadvantage. They were neither victorious nor defeated. From a certain point of view, that was quite frightening to accomplish. Hence, even the Jiyu clan maintained a healthy amount of fear for this mysterious ancient clan. These 2 ancient clans represented the strongest factions within the Dochi continent. Other than these 2 clans, not a single faction could eliminate the entire Ling clan without anyone noticing. Hence, the Jiyu clan and the Hun clan were undoubtedly the most suspicious factions related to the disappearance of the Ling clan. Although the other 4 ancient clans did not possess absolute evidence to determine the culprit, it was obvious that they became more cautious toward the Hun clan and the Jiyu clan after this incident regarding the Ling clan. If the other party was really after the Tushi ancient jade, they would definitely not stop. Since they were in possession of the remaining 4 ancient jade, one of them was likely to be the next target. The Jiyu clan appeared quite depressed as they dealt with this doubt that had appeared from nowhere, but they also understood the seriousness of this matter. Any actions they made would likely stir some unnecessary suspicion. Hence, they could only remain quiet. At the same time, the Hun clan did as they always did. They ignored everything and did whatever they wanted to do. In any case, The Hun clan did not require any allies. They did not care about what the others thought. Therefore, the matter regarding the Ling clan was gradually suppressed as both parties continued to remain quiet. The 6 ancient clans did not start a major war. Following the flow of time, this matter seemed to have been forgotten by others, but some people were aware that a split had formed among the 6 ancient clans. All of the clans were cautious. The matter of the Ling clan stirred quite a big commotion in the Central Plains, but the ancient clans usually kept a low profile. Hence, this commotion lasted for half a year before it gradually diminished. There were interesting occurrences happening daily within the Central Plains, so there was an uncountable number of topics to talk about. Even a big matter like the disappearance of the Ling clan could not continue being the dominant topic. Following the various interesting incidents that occurred across the Central Plains, one season changed to another. It had been nearly 2 years since Xiao Yang had undertaken his retreat. During these 2 years, there was still no signs of activity from the deep mountain where Xiao Yang had took his retreat. Wild grass grew, covering the large stone door. During these 2 years, the young disciples that the Falling Star Pavilion had recruited gradually became senior disciples. A new generation once again entered the Falling Star Pavilion to provide new blood for this faction. After Xiao Yang's quiet retreat lasted for 2 years, even some of the guest elders began to feel a little pessimistic. The deep part of the mountain was too quiet. Normally speaking, breaking through to the Ban Sheng class should be an earth-shaking event. It would definitely attract an unnatural phenomenon, but the sky did not even hint at the slightest strange occurrence ever since Xiao Yang had undertaken his retreat. Given Yarrow Laro's sharp eyes, he was naturally able to sense some of the thoughts that these elders felt in their hearts. However, he did not say anything. He had always adopted the greatest trust when it came to Xiao Yang. Back when he had been captured by the Hall of Soul, Xiao Yang had relied on his own strength to make it to the Central Plains and rescue him from the hands of the Hall of Souls. All that Xiao Yang could rely on to achieve this was his own strength. Ever since that day, Yarrow Laro understood that this tender eagle, which had been hiding under the protection of his wings, had already soared through the sky. This continent, which was interesting and strange, was ultimately a stage for him. This was something that Yarrow Laro believed without a doubt. Yarrow Laro studied the enormous stone door that was covered in moss a short distance away. It was a long while later before he softly sighed softly, "Ooh, little fellow. This retreat of yours really worries others." Yarrow Lao. A ray of light suddenly rushed over from the distance while Yarrow Laro was softly sighing. A delicate beautiful figure appeared behind Yarrow Laro. That figure surprisingly belonged to Kaylin. She had spent most of her time during these 2 years in the Falling Star Pavilion. Yarrow Laro had tried his best to refine various medicinal pills and had activated the Falling Star Pavilion to search for various natural treasures all for Kaylin. Hence, Kaylin's strength had risen from a 5-star Dozun to the peak of the Dozun class. This kind of improvement could be considered quick. Being a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python, the strength of Kaylin's body was stronger than Xiao Yang's body. As long as she possessed sufficient energy, the increase in her strength would not slow. The 7-colored heaven-swallowing python had been an extremely powerful existence since ancient times. She had undoubtedly held a great advantage in terms of talent compared to Xiao Yang's bitter training. What's wrong? Yarrow Laro turned his head after seeing Cai Lin appeared. He saw her somewhat grave face and asked in surprise. Kaylin's pretty eyes swept over the stone door in the distance. Her eyes dimmed as she took out a blood-red card and said, "This was delivered by the Profound River Alliance." "What is it?" Yarrow Laro frowned. He received the card and opened it. 3 large dark red words were immediately captured by his eyes. Declaration of war? A cold smile also surfaced on Yarrow Laro's face when he saw these words. His eyes were lowered. "Half a month from now, my Profound River Alliance will arrive at the Falling Star Pavilion. We will fight and see who is stronger. The winner takes all. They are actually taking the initiative to head to my Falling Star Pavilion? How arrogant." It seems that the old demon Tian Ming can no longer resist intervening. Yarrow Laro narrowed his eyes and coldly laughed. The Profound River Alliance has been quiet for over a year. This time around, they have suddenly issued a battle challenge and are planning to head to our Falling Star Pavilion. It seems that they must feel confident to do this. We must be cautious. Kaylin voiced her opinions. Yarrow Laro slightly nodded. Ever since the Falling Star Pavilion's war with the Profound River Alliance a year ago, the Profound River Alliance had not launched any other campaigns against the Falling Star Pavilion. Yarrow Laro understood in his heart that it was not because these people were unwilling, rather they did not want to push the Falling Star Pavilion too far. After all, Yarrow Laro's Ban Sheng strength was on display for all to see. If they wished to defeat the Falling Star Pavilion, they needed to first defeat Yarrow Chen. However, if they wanted to kill a Ban Sheng, especially a high-level one, the Profound River Alliance needed to take out 2 powerful Ban Sheng in order to succeed. Even with the strength of the Profound Sky Sect, they were unable to take out 2 Ban Shengs. There was only a Grand Elder within their sect who had reached the Ban Sheng class, but this Bansheng old demon had not appeared for many years. Other than this person, the Profound River Alliance did not possess any other Bansheng. Although there were many sects in the Alliance, these sects were far inferior to the Profound Sky sect. It was naturally impossible for them to possess any experts at the Bansheng level. It was obvious that the Ice River Valley was unable to produce one. A single Profound Sky sect Grand Elder was clearly only able to match Yarou Lao, but it would not be possible to kill Yarou Lao. It was precisely because of this lack of strength that the Profound River Alliance had only started some minor conflicts and had only gained a small advantage during this 1 year. Despite wanting to destroy the Falling Star Pavilion, they were unable to intervene in those areas with a greater amount of profit. This time around, they dared to issue a battle challenge, and they had even used the headquarters of the Falling Star Pavilion as the site of the challenge. No one would believe that this challenge was not a problem. Issue the orders to summon all the elders who are not busy with important tasks. Additionally, order those elders guarding the key cities to be very cautious during this period of time and to guard against any sneak attacks by the Profound River Alliance. Yarou Lao's shriveled hand gently rubbed the invitation in his hand. He continued in a deep voice, additionally, dispatch some spies to gather information inside the Profound River Alliance. We must know why these people suddenly possess the courage to come forth. Understood. Kaylin slightly nodded. She had already issued all of these orders when she had received the challenge card. After her performance over these 2 years, the current Kaylin was held in high regard within the Falling Star Pavilion. Everyone were aware of her status. Moreover, Xiao Yang had been determined by Yarou Lao to be the next pavilion chief. In other words, Kaylin was half a pavilion chief's wife. Even some elders had to obey her orders. After these 2 years of war, everyone also understood that she was not merely a flower vase on display. Her ruthless decisiveness was something that even some men could not compare with. During this period of time, the caution level in the Falling Star Pavilion will be raised to its highest. Yarou Lao coldly laughed. I wish to see just what trick that old demon Tian Ming intends to play. Kaylin nodded once again. Her pretty eyes could not resist looking at the tightly shut rock door. She softly asked, is there still no activity from him? Yarou Lao was slightly startled. He nodded gently and looked at Kaylin's somewhat dim eyes. He laughed, there is no need to worry. Nothing will happen to him. According to my guesses, he will successfully exit his retreat very soon. Kaylin bitterly laughed. She had heard these words quite a lot over these 2 years. Let's go. There are still many things that we need to do to prepare. The Profound River Alliance has come with ill intent. Yarou Lao waved his hand. After which, he turned around and slowly left. Kaylin's pretty eyes looked at the stone door. A moment later, she finally sighed, turned around, and followed Yarou Lao. However, no one sensed the moss on the large rock door tremble soon after those two left. A tiny line suddenly surfaced on the stone door. The Falling Star Pavilion was undoubtedly at its most secure this year because today was the day mentioned on the challenge card that came from the Profound River Alliance. The Falling Star Pavilion still did not know why the Profound River Alliance would launch a major campaign, but regardless of what the case was, the Falling Star Pavilion would not reveal any fear in front of others. The news that the experts from the Profound River Alliance would gather at the Falling Star Pavilion had already spread. Hence, many people had hurried to the Falling Star Pavilion during these few days. Everyone understood that the conflicts that had been experienced over these 2 years had caused the Profound River Alliance and the Falling Star Pavilion to truly become enemies. With this sudden situation occurring after both parties had suppressed themselves for such a long time, it would definitely be an extremely spectacular show. Many experts naturally did not want to miss such an interesting situation. The Falling Star Pavilion did not take any actions to expel the people who intended to watch the show after hearing the news. Instead, it had provided the pavilion with a reason to dispatch experts to watch the people. Anyone who acted unusual would be treated like an enemy and killed. As the anticipation of many people grew, the day stated on the challenge card slowly arrived. There was an extremely tall mountain where the main hall of the Falling Star Pavilion was located. The slopes of the mountain were extremely steep and dangerous. It was difficult for an ordinary person to ascend it. Moreover, the peak of the mountain seemed to have been hacked apart by an axe. This area had been turned into an extremely spacious and smooth square. This place was where the Falling Star Pavilion received guests. At this moment, many people stood within this densely packed square. Numerous powerful auras rose and spread across the sky. Everyone could tell that the Falling Star Pavilion had become an extremely dangerous place. Subsequently, the people in the square waited for the experts from the Profound River Alliance to arrive. Yarou Lao stood with his hands behind him at the center of the square. His eyes were calm. Cai Lin, the little fairy doctor, Qing Lin, and some guest elders of the Falling Star Pavilion stood behind him. This lineup was sufficient to stir the exclamations of some of the surrounding observers. We did not manage to gain much intelligence related to the operations of the Profound River Valley this time around. It is rumored that even some of the elders in the Profound River Alliance do not know why they are attacking this time around. Cai Lin suddenly spoke as she looked in the direction of the entrance to the Star Realm. Yarrow Larrow slightly nodded. They were too pressed for time. It was indeed a little difficult to obtain top-secret information. The Star Realm has already entered a state of high alert. Some of the weaker disciples have already been relocated and most of the elders have been summoned back. Cai Lin softly reported. Everything is prepared. We are only waiting for the Profound River Alliance to come. Yarrow Larrow nodded again. He was just about to speak when his eyes hardened. He looked at the entrance to the Star Realm and faintly said, "They are here." The hearts of everyone present tightened after hearing Yarrow Larrow's words. Their eyes gathered on the entrance of the Star Realm. A big hole was slowly torn at that space. Immediately, a monstrous aura brutally charged into this realm like an evil, ferocious beast. A faint laugh that was filled with a dark chill resounded within the Star Realm like rolling thunder. "Yarrow Chen, it has been many years since we last met. How are you?" After hearing this thunder-like voice reverberating through the air, one could see a large number of people swarming through the spatial crack. They immediately turned into many rays of light that appeared in the sky above the square within a couple of flashes. While this large group of people rushed into the Star Realm, the Do Chi within the bodies of all the Falling Star Pavilion elders began to quietly circulate. Their eyes were filled with caution. Yarrow Larrow slowly lifted his head. His eyes looked at the leader's spot of the large group. A dark grey-robed human figure stood in the sky at that spot. This person had long grey hair, and his face did not have many wrinkles. If not for the aged aura that filled his glittering blue eyes, no one would have regarded him as an old demon who had lived for hundreds of years. At a glance, this grey-robed person appeared extremely ordinary. Even the aura within his body was like that of an ordinary person. His entire person appeared unassuming, but everyone understood that a person who could stand there was definitely not a simple character. Old Demon Tian Ming, it is unexpected that you are still alive. Yarrow Larrow's eyes paused on this grey-robed figure as he slowly laughed. Ha ha, even someone like you, who only had a soul left, can be revived. How can the old me die so easily? That grey-robed human figure smiled after hearing this reply. His voice was calm as he spoke. Yarrow Larrow lifted his eyelids. He ignored Old Demon Tian Ming and swept his eyes over the large group behind him. It was obvious that the experts from the Profound River Alliance had all come. There were at least 100 people present, and around half of this group possessed the strength of a Dozun. This lineup, along with the Ban Sheng Old Demon Tian Ming, could be described as terrifying. This lineup might appear unusually powerful, but it was clearly insufficient if one wished to rely on these people to destroy the Falling Star Pavilion. After these years of development, the number of experts in the Falling Star Pavilion was not less than the amount in the Profound River Alliance. Moreover, Yarrow Larrow was also an elite Ban Sheng like that old demon Tian Ming. The Falling Star Pavilion and the Profound River Alliance have difficulty coexisting. In the end, the old me must ultimately step forward. Yarrow Larrow, on the account us being acquaintances in the past, as long as your Falling Star Pavilion withdraws 500 kilometers from the territories of the Profound River Alliance and promises not to start any conflict with the Profound River Alliance in the future, our Profound River Alliance will withdraw today. Old Demon Tian Ming's faint voice was transmitted through the air, causing the expressions of many Falling Star Pavilion to change. You must be dreaming. Cai Lin's replied in an ice-cold voice. Withdrawing 500 kilometers? Wouldn't that mean that the Falling Star Pavilion would shrink by half? Moreover, they must promise not to have any conflict with the Profound River Alliance in the future. Would that not mean that they would have to submit to these people? How would the Falling Star Pavilion continue to survive in the Central Plains if they agreed to these terms? It is obvious that these people are provoking us. The little fairy doctor knit her brows as she spoke. The Profound River Alliance should be clearly aware that it was impossible for them to agree to such terms. Yarrow Larrow's eyes calmly stared at old demon Tian Ming. A moment later, a cold smile appeared on his face. He did not withdraw. The other experts around the surrounding mountains did not dare to display any unusual actions at this moment. From the looks of it, the Profound River Alliance was clearly intending to start a war with the Falling Star Pavilion. Yarrow Chen, what do you say? Have you made up your mind? Old demon Tian Ming's rolled his eyes as he asked after waiting for a moment. Yarrow Larrow laughed after hearing these questions. He asked, do you think the Profound River Alliance has the qualification to utter these words, given its strength? In that case, do you mean that you disagree? Old demon Tian Ming withdrew the cold smile on his face and slowly demanded. Yarrow Larrow smiled and nodded. He suddenly waved his hand at the same time. Bang! Many extremely powerful auras suddenly erupted from the surrounding mountains as Yarrow Larrow waved his hand. Wave after wave of Do Chi light pillars spluttered out. They entwined themselves in the sky and finally bloomed. It appeared like a big formation that surrounded old demon Tian Ming's group in the sky. The people on the surrounding mountains were slightly startled when they saw this sudden unexpected change. It seemed that this falling star pavilion had come prepared. The good show today was finally about to start. Yarrow Chen, it seems that you really won't give in until you are faced with grim reality. Old demon Tian Ming watched the Doqi light curtain lower from the surrounding sky. A cold smile slowly appeared. After which, his eyes landed on Yarrow Larrow as he said, "Given the strength of my profound river alliance, it is indeed difficult to destroy your falling star pavilion. However, do you think that this elderly self would be so foolish to deliver myself to your hands without absolute confidence?" Yarrow Larrow's group frowned after hearing this question. "Two misters, please show yourselves." Old demon Tian Ming laughed in a strange fashion. Following which, he let out a loud cry. The space beside old demon Tian Ming suddenly began to wiggle in front of everyone's eyes after his words sounded. A spatial crack was formed and two clusters of dark monstrous auras swiftly flew out of this crack in space like floodwater. Yarrow Larrow's expression slowly sank as he sensed these two familiar auras. His eyes stared intently at the crack in space as he spit out in a gloomy voice, "Hall of Souls. You people have indeed intervened. Yarrow Chen, I said before that your falling star pavilion will be turned into ruins sooner or later. However, you should also be glad that this has been delayed by 2 years." A churning black fog surged out of the crack in space and two figures slowly appeared in front of many pairs of eyes. At the same time, a dark and cold laugh also sounded. "Guu." A dense expression flashed across Yarrow Larrow's eyes after hearing this strange laughter. A black fog churned in the sky before slowly scattering. Two figures appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The first was a skeleton-like old man who was surprisingly the second Tianzuan of the Hall of Souls, Guu, whom they had met in the ancient wasteland region. Another figure stood behind him. Although the aura of this person was not as strong, this person also possessed the strength of a Bansheng, but it was that of an initial level Bansheng. 2 Banshengs. If one included old demon Tian Ming, there was a total of 3 of them. This lineup immediately caused many to gently inhale a breath of cool air. The faces of some elders from the Falling Star Pavilion began to turn pale. "Yarrow Chen, do you need to reconsider the conditions that I offered earlier?" A strange smile surfaced on old demon Tian Ming's face as he asked in a sinister manner. Yarrow Larrow's expression was gloomy. He slowly clenched his hand under his sleeve. "Yarrow Larrow, it is pointless to admit defeat. Given the Hall of Souls and Profound River Alliance's methods, it is impossible for them to continue to allow us to survive." Cai Lin's face was icy-cold. A chilly glint flickered within her pretty eyes. "Now, we have no other choice but to fight them to death." The surrounding Falling Star Pavilion's experts looked at Yarrow Larrow and waited for his decision. Yarrow Larrow gently exhaled. A moment later, he nodded. He also understood this reasoning. "Since this is the case, let's fight with them." A ferocious expression surfaced on Yarrow Larrow's face after he uttered those last few words. This video will end here.